Please settle down, friends. And please close your eyes. So in the last lecture, we had discussed various theories of power. Yeah? Starting, say, with the functional theory. We had discussed which all? Functional, Marxist. That's it? And before that, what had we discussed? Social exclusion. So tell me, brother, who are transgenders? Yes. Wonderful. The gender identity does not match with the gender assigned to them at birth. ठीक है. And tell me some scholars you can mention in an answer on transgenders. Brother. Rajesh Talwar. Good. Any other? Queer theorist. Erotic pyramid. Gail Rubin. ठीक है? Good. Then, what is the Marxist theory of power? No, brother. Power is a part of the superstructure and shaped by the economy. Please appreciate, the political system or anything belonging to the superstructure is shaped by the economy. Continue. The political system secures whose interests from a Marxist perspective? The interests of the capitalists. What about welfare state? How do capitalists analyze the welfare state? Very good. The welfare state offers basically petty consolation or petty concessions. बिल्कुल ठीक है. Then this is all we had discussed. According to Louis who? Louis का पूरा नाम? Louis Althusser. There are two types of mechanisms, which are what, Bitya? Repressive and ideological state apparatus. What is repressive state apparatus? Using brute force. And how does the state do it? Say the police, the armed forces, these are part of the repressive state apparatus. And what is the other one? Ideological state apparatus, which means? State is what? So through ideological conditioning, the state ensures that the people willingly submit to their domination in the capitalist system. And how does the state secure it? What are the tools of ideological conditioning by the state? Bitya? through the education system, very importantly, also media and various others. Please appreciate. In pre-modern societies, it was church, your organized religion, which was the key key element of the ideological state apparatus. In modern societies, it is the education system. And not just public education, even private education. Who decides the curriculum and what is to be taught, etc. It is the state. So even private education is greatly controlled by the state and used as a part of the ideological state apparatus. Okay? So this is what we have already discussed. अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. अच्छा, what is क्या बिटिया? What is zero sum concept of power? Not good. Brother? The amount of power in the society is finite, ya limited, ya fixed. Meaning what? That one person or one group can gain power only at the expense of another. Okay? And what is the other concept? The variable sum concept of power, which is what? The total amount of power can change. How can it change? How does it change, brother? When political leadership effectively uses that power, it can increase. If they misuse it or are ineffective, it can decline the power of the society as a whole. What is power from this perspective? It is the ability of a society to achieve its goals. Who subscribes to, which theory subscribes to the variable sum concept of power, Bitya? Functional theory. And which theory subscribes to the constant sum concept of power? Marxist theory. ठीक है. Also Weberian. अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. ठीक है. Moving on to discussing the online students, please type yes if you can hear me and see me clearly. Also, couple of things I want to share. Please, it is a sincerest, earnest suggestion. Please appear for the exam, the sectional test, not the exam, but the sectional test for your own sake. Don't delay it for later. You will never be perfect in sociology. Secondly, please work on your speed. A lot of you whom I have spoken to one-on-one are taking anywhere like 12 to 15 minutes for a 10 marker. If you are taking 15 minutes, while you have to actually take 7 to 8 minutes, you will only end up completing half the paper in the assigned time. So please work on your speed so that you can complete the paper, and if you complete the paper, almost half the battle is won. Okay? And you have to be consciously working towards it, तभी होगा, वरना नहीं होगा. It doesn't happen automatically कि इतना लिखूंगी कि तेज लिखने लगूंगी. ऐसा नहीं होगा. If you have it on your agenda that I have to write faster, and you sit with a clock or a timer and assign to yourself lesser time every subsequent time you're writing. That is how it will happen. ठीक? So, do that. Her question is, how many scholars do you write in an answer? That depends on what is the topic or what would be the expectation from a question. Her question is, for a topic, should we remember like 2 names or just 1 name will suffice? For example, if the topic is, say, something very broad or generic, like secularization, like patriarchy, okay, like family, okay, one would expect multiple scholars to be quoted, not a single one. If the topic is very, very narrow, say social facts, then if you are only mentioning Durkheim, it will do. But if question on secularization or patriarchy, you are only mentioning one person. That will not be advisable. ठीक? चलिए, अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. So have it on your agenda to appear for the exam. Don't delay it for later. ठीक है? Moving on to discussing the classical elite theory of power. Classical elite theory of power. Weber also has a zero-sum concept of power, because according to Weber, power one enjoys at the expense of others. In other words, if I can dominate over you, meaning if you have to cede space to me, or you must submit to me, that is my power. Okay? So it is in the Weberian sense also at the expense of the other. That is why it is a zero sum. So if you are today submitting to me 100%, and tomorrow you are submitting to me, say you gain 10% power, then you will only submit to me 90%, which will be a reduction in my power, or my control over you. On this context, both Marx and Weber agree that power is a zero-sum game. Okay? But their overall analysis of power is quite different, which we discussed when we discussed party and how it's related to class and status. Chaliye, the classical elite theory of power. So classical elite theorists are scholars like Pareto and Mosca. Pareto and Mosca. Now, what do you understand before we proceed with the guys? What do you understand by the word elite? सुना है इंग्लिश में? क्या मतलब होता है elite शब्द का? He is saying it is the rich, which is not correct. With due respect, the term elite is not the same as the rich. Bitia. Huh? Royal. Somewhat closer to it, brother. Prestigious, ठीक है, yes. Upper class. Okay, elite basically refers to the topmost echelons in any field of work. Those who are at the top are regarded as elites. Which is not the same as being rich. It's a broader concept. So you can have the business elites, those who are at the helm of the realm of business. So Tatas and Birlas, these are the business elites, which could be different from the political elites, those who are at the helm of the political system. Are you with me? So the MPs, etc., these are the political elites. You could have sporting elites. Say Team India, okay, those who are at the helm of Indian cricket or Indian sports would constitute the sporting elites. You could have cultural elites. Say the big names in painting, art, literature, Bollywood celebrities, film stars, etc. These would constitute the cultural elites. समझ गए? Those who enjoy the top positions in any sphere of activity are in normal English referred to as elites. Clear? So, what Pareto says, friends, or let us begin with Pareto's definition of elites. According to Pareto, the term elite refers to a class of people who have the highest indices, who have the highest indices in their branch of activity. In their branch of activity. ठीक है, मतलब कि जो अपने क्षेत्र में सबसे सर्वश्रेष्ठ हैं वह एलिट्स कहलाते हैं. आई डोंट नो, इज देयर अ हिंदी वर्ड फॉर एलिट्स? मस्ट बी, मतलब नहीं, दैट डजंट साउंड लाइक इट. बाहुबली डजंट साउंड लाइक एलिट्स. Mahir is more about, excellence. Mahirta, if that's a word. Sarvashresht, for the lack of this thing. Khair, we get it in English. That should suffice. You know? Clear? So according to Pareto friends, elites are of two types. Two types. You have governing elites and the, yes, very good, non-governing elites. Governing elites कौन होते हैं? Those who directly or indirectly play some considerable part in government. नॉन गवर्निंग एलिट्स कौन होते हैं? दोज हु डू नॉट प्ले एनी रोल इन गवर्नमेंट. ठीक, क्लियर? तो ये जो होते हैं बिरजू महाराज, ये क्या है? नॉन गवर्निंग एलिट. और अमित शाह गवर्निंग एलिट. राहुल गांधी गवर्निंग या नॉन गवर्निंग? गवर्निंग एलिट. एमपी है ना, या थे, और कांग्रेस के वीपी शीपी हैं. सोनिया गांधी कहां गवर्न कर रही हैं? हाँ, इनडायरेक्टली खूब कर रही हैं, खूब किया है. तो शी इज ऑल्सो अ पार्ट ऑफ द गवर्निंग एलिट, राइट? So you have two types of elites. Now the crux of the classical elite theory is that, and please note down, elite rule. According to these guys, the classical elite theorists, elite rule is inevitable. Elite rule is inevitable. मतलब society is always ruled by elites. But who rules or who constitute the elite? कौन होगा elite? कौन है elite? This depends on the psychological traits of an individual. So based on their psychological traits, the governing elites can be of two types. Very good. Simply, friends, you need a certain psychological makeup, okay, or certain kind of a personality, and those who have it, they become the ruling elites. किस टाइप की पर्सनालिटी चाहिए होती है या साइकोलॉजिकल प्री डिस्पोजिशन चाहिए होती है सत्ता हासिल करने के लिए, सत्ता में जमे रहने के लिए? टू टाइप्स ऑफ एलिट्स आर देयर, नेमली लायंस एंड फॉक्सेस. लायंस एंड फॉक्सेस. लायंस कौन होते हैं? दोज हु रूल बाय ब्रूट फोर्स. Lions, friends, have the ability to take decisive action. They are ruthless. They will not hesitate in crushing dissent. Yes or no? ये होते हैं लायंस. ठीक, जो फोर्स के बल पे राज करते हैं. एंड दूसरे होते हैं फॉक्सेस, यानी लोमड़ी. लोमड़ी कैसी होती है? चालाक होती है ना. सो फॉक्सेस रूल बाय कनिंग, manipulation, wheeling dealing. Tigdam. Tigdam is the Hindi word. You can't write that, but that is what wheeling dealing is. Wheeling dealing matlab setting karna and all that. Sorry? Wheeling and WHEELING Wheeling dealing. मत लिखो. They rule by manipulation and cunning and cajoling and coaxing and whatever it takes. चंटपने से simply सत्ता में रहती हैं लोमड़ियां. ठीक है. So those people who have these kind of personality traits, are you with me? They have the ability to rule. मोदी जी क्या है ना? क्या है? Come on, yeah, with his 56 इंच की छाती and all of that. पाकिस्तान पे सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक्स एंड यहां थोड़े मुसलमान जला दिए and all of that. Is what? Lion. But he also is somewhat foxy. What about Sonia Gandhi? Very foxy. Very visibly, apparently foxy. Very chalak. What about you guys? Lions or foxes? Or what about the masses? Masses, friends, are passive. Masses have a need to be led. In other words, masses do not have the capacity to govern or rule. हम सब भेड़ बकरी हैं एंड हमें चाहिए कि कोई पाइड पाइपर आ जाए और हमें जीवन की राह दिखा दे. वी वॉन्ट टू बी गाइडेड. वी वॉन्ट डिसीजंस टू बी टेकन फॉर अस. अधिकतम लोग किस प्रकार के होते हैं? इस प्रकार के होते हैं. ओनली अ हैंडफुल ऑफ पीपल हैव व्हाट इट टेक्स टू बी अमंग्स द एलीट or the ruling section of the society, amongst the governing elite. ठीक? And those who have those psychological traits, decisiveness, forcefulness, etc., or cunning, etc., they are able to secure power. Masses, for the most part, are indifferent to politics. They are indifferent. मैनू की, राहुल आए या मोदी आए, So masses are passive, they are unconcerned about political affairs. And they have a need to be led. And in the society, what we see, friends, is a circulation of elites. In the society, circulation of elites takes place. Circulation of elites means what? That one type of elites, one set of elites will be replaced by another set of elites. This will keep on happening throughout history. ठीक? Now, why does circulation take place? In other words, if a set of elites come to power, why can't they stay in power for a prolonged period? Why are they necessarily replaced by another set of elites? Due to the following factors. Now we are trying to understand why circulation of elites takes place. One reason, friends, is that you require a balance of both types of traits to stay in power. You require cunning or cleverness. Are you with me? Ability for manipulation, wheeling, dealing, etc. And you also require the ability to rule by force. You require both lion type and fox type characteristics or traits to stay in power. And you require a good balance between the two. ठीक? I repeat, you require a balance between lion type and fox type traits. Now, any elite who come to power, they may have more or less of a particular type of trait. So they'll be found wanting in the other type of trait. Are you with me? तो अगर आप अधिकतम लायंस वाली सरकार हो तो आप में चालाकी के गुण, जो गुण एक तरह से गुण हैं जो चाहिए रूल करने के लिए, वो मिसिंग होंगे या कम होंगे. धन्यवाद भैया. एंड अगर आप चालाक चतुर लोमड़ी हो तो आप में लायन की रूथलेसनेस कम हद तक होगी. तो एक कमी रह जाती है. ओके? Which makes them vulnerable to be replaced by another set of elites. ठीक? I repeat, you require a balance of lion type and fox type traits to stay in power. A set of elites who capture power may lack either of the two types, which makes them vulnerable to replacement. ठीक? Secondly, friends, when an elite capture office, okay, then, or after having captured office, due to long stay in power, elites start losing their qualities. elites start losing their qualities. Matlab, they start decaying in their qualities. In other words, lion become less aggressive and forceful. Are you with me? Less ruthless. And foxes tend to become less cunning. Simply due to, because of enjoying the privilege of office. So that makes them sitting ducks. Are you with me? To be replaced by another set of elites. For example, मनमोहन सोनिया सरकार क्या थी? मनमोहन जी क्या थे? मनमोहन सिंह लायन या फॉक्स? ना क्या होता है? हाउ कैन यू डिसमिस? कोई भी नहीं थे. नहीं, ही इज लॉट ridiculed left, right and center ki, Manmohan Singh and whatever. He's robotic and whatever. But he's very, very foxy. The longest serving non-Gandhi prime minister. He claims to, or portrays himself as this reluctant prime minister. I am an academic and kya mujhe, chalo keh rahe ho to kar leta hu. And in the process, he was able to sideline these Congress heavyweights like a Pranab Mukherjee and so many, claiming to or vying for the hot seat. So very, very foxy. Clearly, fox. Sonia Gandhi, fox. Now they had a good 10 years in office. What happened to the next generation? Rahul Gandhi lost that cunning. अगली जनरेशन बुद्धू पैदा हो गई. ठीक है? Due to which they became sitting ducks for replacement by the other set of elites. ठीक? So point is that throughout human history, circulation of elites takes place. In fact, Pareto suggests that history is a graveyard of aristocracies. History is a graveyard of aristocracies. Aristocracies meaning the ruling class in general, and not necessarily those from a certain background. Here referring to the ruling classes. In other words, friends, throughout human history, you will find what? Elite rule. In other words, that the vast majority of the population is ruled by a handful of elites. Throughout human history, a handful of people or the elites have ruled over the masses. गांधी जी क्या थे? The original one. Foxy? Even our present Home Minister once referred to Gandhi ji as a Chatur Banya. He said Gandhi ji bade Chatur Banya the. So Gandhi ji was, yes, foxy. And how about, say Gandhi Nehru combined, how would you classify them? Foxes या foxes? And how about Indira Gandhi? Lion, है ना? She was like, Indra was very compared to, or allegedly compared to, Durga and whatnot. She was called the only man in her cabinet. So very Mardani in that sense. And how about Narasimha Rao? Narasimha Rao. Fox, yeah, he was Fox. He was able to keep afloat his government on a very, very thin majority or thin support, and had to apparently also secure, allegedly, support from some JMM MPs through bribing, etc. Theek. And then you had your Manmohan Singh Vagera, also foxy, and now you have a lion. He also, likes to compare himself with a Babbar Sher, etc. Sheraya, or such sort of thing is happening. Okay. So you get the picture, but throughout history, it is one set of elites who replace another. Please appreciate, this takes us a step forward. What this also means, friends, that from this perspective, elite theory perspective, there is not much substantial difference between different forms of government. In other words, monarchy ho ya democracy ho, single party rule like China ho ya ek thriving multi-party democracy like India ho, autocracy ho ya theocracy ho, all of these are, या एक मिलिट्री डिक्टेटरशिप हो म्यांमार जैसी, ये सब क्या है? These are all slight variants of the same basic theme, which is elite rule. Matlab, in all of them, it is a handful of people, including in democracy, it is a handful of people who rule over the vast majority. ठीक है? So, there are no significant differences between different forms of government. Throughout human history, it is a given that the masses will be led by the few. ठीक? How many of you, are we good? How many of you, friends, tell me, in your analysis, consider that you have what it takes to govern or be amongst the governing elites. Do you have that psychological predisposition or personality traits? 3, 4, और ये बाकी हाथ उठ रहे हैं देखा देखी में. नहीं, ठीक है. But which type? How many of us are lions here? Any lions? ठीक है, only one, ruthless fellow. And how many foxes here? सब चंट है. ठीक है, दोनों से बच के रहना guys, the rest of us. ठीक है. Now moving on to another version of the elite theory, what we call the modern elite theory of power. Modern elite theory of power. Her question is, are we taking in classical elite theory, is the word foxes in a negative connotation? I would say not. It is in terms of certain predisposition or certain kind of behavioral characteristics are required, which very few people possess. Okay? And these are, shall we say, necessary to be able to rule over the masses. Preferred word, clever or cunning, both are all right. Okay? You need to be, even if you want to use shrewd or, what you may consider as having some negative connotation, it is all right. Because it is chahiye. ठीक है? It is required to be able to govern. You need that cunningness. Huh? He very consciously uses them or compares them to lions and foxes. Chaliye, now coming to the modern elite theory of power. Can you identify the people in the picture? Or at least one of them? कौन है? हाँ, कौन सा? डोनाल्ड ट्रंप? Kennedy. हाँ, John F. Kennedy. है ना? He was one of the US presidents. But it's not just him, it's the whole mahal. You know, he is in a very comfortable company of friends. Okay, and these are the part of the ruling elites in modern US. Basically, modern elite theory of power was developed by scholars like C. Wright Mills. C. Wright Mills developed this theory in his work, in his book, titled The Power Elite. Now, this is also an elite theory, but substantially different from the classical elite theory. Substantially different. How it is different, let us please appreciate. So according to Mills, and he specifically analyzes American society, he says America in the 20th century is ruled by a power elite. 20th century America is ruled by a power elite. You know, I had a friend in school. I can't help shake it out of my mind, recalling that. In the context of the classical elite theory, so it was something very innocuous we had at a time. You know, we had a lab, exam or something. जो भी होते थे ना, lab में experiments का exam था, physics or chemistry, for which we were required to carry our lab coats. They were like white lab coats. And he, that friend of mine, very close friend of mine, he had forgotten to get his. So, he made a very sorry face and he asked a fellow student, okay, a classmate of ours, and she very innocently gave her lab coat to him. Okay? And she then you could not exchange or something, like it couldn't have, like both could not have used it. So I pointed out this to him, you know, slightly wrong, like why should she be made to suffer? And he said कि जब सीढ़ी से ऊपर जाते हैं तो नीचे बहुत लोगों को कुचलना पड़ता है. And I was so taken aback, you know. That is really the lion type, you know, he exhibited those traits, you know, ruthlessness at its peak. And I was really taken aback. And it was something very innocent and we were in a very young class that time, you know, 9th or something possibly. Pata nahi bhaiya, but I was very shaken up, you know. No, but he was like ruthless, to the core. He didn't care, you know. Like something basic human consideration. मैं बहुत डर गया उसके बाद. Khair. Now coming to the modern elite theory, as outlined by C. Wright Mills. So he says that modern America, 20th century, he wrote it in the 20th century. 20th century American society is ruled by a power elite. But according to Mills, elite rule is not inevitable. Unlike the classical elite theorists say what? It is inevitable. But according to Mills, it is not inevitable. In fact, according to Mills, elite rule is a relatively recent development in American history. हमेशा से नहीं था कि America was ruled by an elite. It is a relatively recent development. Elite rule is a recent development in American history. ठीक. Also, according to the modern elite theory, elite rule is not due to psychological traits of certain persons, which is how the classical elite theorists see it. According to the modern elite theory, it is not due to the psychological traits of the leadership. Mills, in fact, sees elite rule, friends, as an outcome of or as a result of institutional factors. It is due to institutional factors, not the personality traits of the leadership. Elite rule is due to institutional factors. Institutional factors means what? That, those who occupy the top positions, or the command posts in 3 key institutions, they constitute a unified power elite. Those who occupy the command posts, arthat key positions or the top positions in 3 key institutions, constitute a unified power elite. I repeat, those who occupy the top positions or command posts in 3 key institutions constitute the unified power elite ruling America. Which are these 3 key institutions? The federal government matlab the central government. Big business, the big corporates. In 3 key institutions, namely the federal government, or the अमेरिका में सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को फेडरल गवर्नमेंट बोलते हैं. द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट, बिग बिजनेस यानी द बिग कॉर्पोरेट्स, एंड नहीं, नॉट यूनिवर्सिटीज, नॉट मीडिया, गुड तुक्के बट रॉन्ग, नॉट रिलीजन, नॉट हॉलीवुड, दैट्स मीडिया, नॉट जुडिशरी, very good but late but good, But the US military, the American military. So those who occupy the top posts in the federal government, the big corporates and the American military, they constitute a unified power elite. ठीक? In other words, friends, elite rule is an outcome of the convergence of political, economic and military power. Elite rule involves convergence of political, economic and military power. ठीक? Now these guys who are ruling 20th century America, they are a unified power elite. In what sense are they unified? Unified in the sense, A, they come from similar social backgrounds. Are you able to identify the characters in this photo? डोनाल्ड ट्रंप, बिल क्लिंटन, है ना? कौन है ये लोग? कौन है तो पता है? हाँ, फॉर्मर यूएस प्रेसिडेंट्स. किस पार्टी को बिलोंग करते हैं? किस पार्टी को बिलोंग करते हैं बिल क्लिंटन? सॉरी, डेमोक्रेट एंड रिपब्लिकन. Point is irrespective of the party in power, okay, or irrespective of the political affiliation, these elites are क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे? दोस्ती यारी खूब है. So they are a very cozy club. Okay, that is what the photo is intended to convey. Khair, so one thing is that they share similar social background. How social background is similar, friends? For instance, if you look at the ruling elites in the US, they are overwhelmingly whites. गोरे होते हैं. They are overwhelmingly Protestants. In fact, some scholars have, coined this very interesting phrase, WASP. Scholars like Andrew Hacker and Bolzell coined the term WASP for the ruling elites in America. WASP stands for White, Anglo-Saxon and Protestant. White, Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Saxon and Protestant. SAXON. White, Anglo-Saxon and Protestant, scholars like Andrew Hacker and Bolzell. For example, friends, most American presidents, most have been WASPs, except ikka dukka chhod ke. Barack Obama has been an obvious exception, and ekad aur hoga. Otherwise, most American presidents since the 18th century till date have been white, Anglo-Saxon and Protestant. Anglo-Saxon basically refers to their descent. Saxon indicates, Germanic kind of a descent. So, जो लोग जर्मनी से यूके गए होंगे, फिर वहां से यहाँ आए हैं, something like that. यहाँ मतलब यूएस में आए हैं, ठीक? They are Anglo-Saxon parentage वाले. Also, friends, similar social background in the sense these guys have typically gone to the same set of or a very limited number of schools and colleges. Ivy League colleges वगैरह में पढ़ते हैं ये और इनके बच्चे. They move about in the same clubs. Are you with me? There's a lot of intermarrying amongst the elites. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, किसी टॉप मिलिट्री जनरल की बेटी किससे ब्याहेगी? एक लीडिंग पॉलिटिशियन से. आर यू विद मी? You will find this unified power elite, represented on the board of directors of the big companies. तो board of directors में कोई military का top official होगा. Are you with me? कोई leading politician की बीवी होगी या पिता होगा, whatever. They are also unified in another sense, friends. Apart from sharing similar social background, perhaps more importantly, they are unified because their interests converge. Their interests converge. Interests converge. Why? Because see, as Mills points out, and even otherwise one can appreciate that American capitalism is in large part military capitalism. To a very good extent, American capitalism is military capitalism. Military capitalism in the sense, friends, the manufacture and sale of armaments is a very integral and important part of American economy. Simply, who benefits from war? Who benefits from war? All three types of elites. The military elites, the economic elites, and the political elites benefit from warfare. मिलिट्री को क्या बेनिफिट है वॉर से? उसके तो सोल्जर मरेंगे. क्या फायदा है मिलिट्री को? मिलिट्री शांति नहीं चाहेगी. उनकी इंपॉर्टेंस बढ़ेगी इन द स्कीम ऑफ थिंग्स. उनका बजट बढ़ेगा इन द स्कीम ऑफ थिंग्स. यस और नो? पॉलिटिशियंस को क्या फायदा है वॉर करने से? उनको क्या शांति नहीं बहाल करनी? हाँ वही, ही रिप्रेजेंटेड इट लाइक ग्राफिकली, but verbalize it. Yes, it helps to mobilize public support. Yes or no? Whenever you have war, or whenever a country is at war, it helps to kind of unify the people within and typically rally behind the leadership. Are you with me? और कंपनियों को क्या फायदा है वॉरफेयर से? उनका माल बिकेगा. ठीक है? No wonder, friends, we find that there is a very strong military industrial complex operating in America. And America, since, or at least in the 20th century very visibly, it has almost always been at war, somewhere or the other. Continuously, America remains in a situation of war. Right? Why? Because all three types of elites benefit from it. In other words, friends, the ruling elites of America, they are a very cozy club. They understand each other's bhasha. They are mindful of each other's concerns. And together, the political, economic and military elites, Mills writes, they enjoy unprecedented power. The American elites enjoy unprecedented power. But mind you, it was not always so. In other words, it's a recent development. Elite rule in the US is a recent development. It was not inevitable. Earlier, मतलब ये हुआ है करीब last quarter of the, क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? Last quarter of the 19th century and the early decades of the 20th century. Before that, economic power was dispersed amongst a large number of small businesses. Are you with me? But as time passed, economic power got concentrated in the big corporates. Likewise, political power was dispersed amongst the federating units. Amongst the federating units. But with passage of time, the center emerged stronger. For example, friends, you would have studied in your Lakshmikant thing that America we take as the example of a classic federal polity, where the states or the federating units enjoy a lot of power. That is how constitutionally America was, founded. But over a period of time, thanks to Supreme Court judgments and reinterpretations of the Constitution, particularly after the Civil War in US, the powers of the state were substantially cut down. Specifically, their power initially enjoyed theoretically the power to secede from the Union. But when they did actually announce that or use that power, it was undone. Are you with me? So, political power got increasingly concentrated in the federal government. Military power likewise. Earlier there used to be local militias. There used to be several local level militias. In fact, a remnant of that you still see in American society of today. You would have noticed that Americans are obsessed with the right to carry arms. Yes or no? Lot of movies they show that, and you have these mass shootings every now and then, and people wonder, bhaiya, which is so different from our socio-political system. You can't imagine ordinary people carrying arms. That's a part of their historical development. So point is that the local militias, their power was taken away and vested in the US military. In other words, all three powers, political, economic and military, which were earlier more dispersed in society, they became increasingly concentrated in these three key institutions. The central government, the American military and the big corporates. Clear? But in the 20th century, US is ruled by a unified power elite which enjoys unprecedented power. Be-intaha power. And this unified power elite takes major decisions affecting the lives of millions of American people without any reference to the people. Behind closed doors, the major decisions affecting the lives of millions of people are taken by this handful of people. They take all the major decisions. For example, Mills, he gives the example of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now these were momentous decisions, not just for the US, but for the globe. The use of the atomic bomb. And this decision was taken by the power elite behind closed doors. On a more regular basis, think of something like an interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve. By the Federal Reserve Bank, which is their reserve bank. So these decisions are taken by these handful of people behind closed doors. A federal rate hike, interest rate hike would affect ordinary Americans. कि आप होम लोन पे क्या ब्याज दे रहे हो, आपको बैंक से कितना ब्याज मिल रहा है. The works. Yes or no? So that is his analysis of modern American polity, that it is ruled by this unified power elite. ठीक? कैसी लगी? Which is more appealing, or should I say which rings truer, the classical or the modern elite theory? Modern? ठीक है. Tell me also, do you think this applies to India? This helps us to explain the political system in India. In other words, are we in India also ruled by a unified power elite? What is your lay observation? Does the political leadership of India come from a very narrow social background? Or do the India's political leaders, do they share similarity of social background? Why do you say no? So Lalu Yadav comes from a very different kind of a socio-economic background than the Gandhis, who are very different from Mayawati, who is very different from Modi. Yes or no? So we do not have political elites sharing a similarity of social background. And what about if you join the economic elites? They would come from a still wider or diverse kind of a social background. So friends, perhaps to better explain the Indian polity, we can make use of the theory of pluralism. Pluralism. Pluralism theory, by the way, I just began explaining or giving the Indian context, but this theory was also developed by Western scholars to analyze Western political system, okay, of liberal democracy. Okay, but since we'll be able to better connect, I gave that kind of a mention. Okay, now scholars like Robert Dahl, Arnold Rose, Robert Dahl, Robert as in Robert Vadra, Dahl as in DAHL, Arnold Rose, Arnold as in Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rose as in Titanic Valley, and Raymond Aron, Raymond जो हम पहनते हैं, Aron as in ARON. ठीक? These are scholars. These are some of the prominent names of the pluralist view of politics and power. What they basically argue, see, the root word here is plural. Plural means multiple or many different types. So what they basically argue, that in the society, they're talking about Western liberal democracy, same would apply to India. That in the society, there are multiple social groups, multiple social identities. There's a plurality of social groups and identities. Now, the resources of a society are limited. No society has infinite resources. The resources of the society are limited. So what is politics? Basically, through politics, these diverse social groups are trying to secure for themselves a greater share of the limited resources of the society. I repeat, politics involves diverse social groups struggling to secure a greater share of the limited resources of the society. And how do they do so? In order to engage in this struggle, how do different people struggle in a democracy? By choosing their representatives. It is through their representatives that different social groups engage in this struggle to corner a greater share of the resources of the society. इसी में डाल दो ना, नया सेंटेंस के लिख रहे हो. Through their representatives. Right? ठीक? सिंपल बात है. For example, in India, you have multiplicity of social identities. You have numerous castes, multiplicity of religions, several tribal groups, numerous ethnic identities, linguistic communities. है कि नहीं है? Different occupations. You have capitalists, you have workers, you have farmers. सब कुछ है नहीं है इसी समाज में. इन सबको अपने अपने लिए कुछ ना कुछ समाज से चाहिए. All sections of the society are trying to secure for themselves a greater share of the societal pie, as it were. ठीक? So how do they do it? Now these many people can't do it directly. It will be chaos all over. It will be very chaotic. So they do so through their representatives. So, for instance, one could argue that Dalits of UP have chosen Mayawati to secure their interests, while the Yadavs of UP have chosen Mulayam Singh Yadav or Akhilesh Yadav as their representative. The Hindus have chosen a Yogi Adityanath, while the Muslims have chosen an Asaduddin Owaisi to secure their interests in the political fight or the struggle for the resources of the society. तो जाट नेता जाटों के लिए आरक्षण की डिमांड रखेंगे. मुस्लिम नेता मुसलमान के हक की बात करेंगे. हिंदू हृदय सम्राट हिंदुओं के इंटरेस्ट को सिक्योर करने की कोशिश करेंगे. आर यू विद मी? वर्कर्स जो हैं वो पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम पे दबाव डालेंगे कि प्रो वर्कर पॉलिसीज या मेजर्स लिए जाए. बिजनेसमैन अपना दबाव डालेंगे. देयर विल बी न्यूमरस competing interests, clashing demands on the political system, on government. Are you with me? And what the government is trying to do, it is simply trying to strike a balance between these competing demands of diverse social groups. Government is trying to arrive at a kind of a via media or strike a balance between the competing demands of different social groups. पॉलिटिशियंस क्या हैं? जो पॉलिटिकल एलिट्स हैं वो क्या हैं? मायावती क्या है? मुलायम सिंह यादव क्या है? लालू यादव क्या है? मोदी क्या है? They are the honest representatives. Very importantly, they are the honest representatives of the concerns, aspirations of the sections of the society which has chosen them. सिंपल भाषा में मायावती दलितों के बिहाफ पे दलितों की बात समाज के सामने रख रही हैं, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. आर यू विद मी? पॉलिटिशियंस फ्रॉम अ प्लूरलिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव आर ऑनेस्ट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स ऑफ द sections of the society which they represent or of which have chosen them. Are you with me? Now, we've already discussed Western liberal democracies from a Marxist perspective. From a Marxist perspective, is Marxism critical or appreciative of Western democracies? Critical or supportive? Clearly critical. It sees them as a sham. What about the elite theory perspective? Critical or appreciative of Western democracies? Critical. Simply, democracies claim to be people's rule. People cannot rule, according to elite theorists. Democracy is no different from a monarchy or an oligarchy or this or that. In a democracy also, it is only a few people ruling over the masses. Are you with me? So Marxism and elite rule, what about modern elite theory? Critical or appreciative of Western democracy? Yeah, American democracy? Clearly critical. Elites, they picture as, self-serving and aggrandizing, cozy club, right? Where few are taking major decisions without any reference to the masses who are affected. Are you with me? Pluralism theory is critical or appreciative of Western democracies? Appreciative. Clearly appreciative. So pluralist theory is in the nature of a defense almost of the Western democratic political systems. Sorry, I said Marxists and elite theorists are critical of Western democracies, but pluralism theory legitimizes the Western liberal democratic framework. ठीक? According to pluralist friends, government is viewed, is by the pluralists, the government is seen as an honest broker. As an honest broker. Trying to, strike a balance between the demands of competing social groups. Governance is about making compromises. Governance is about finding a way out for these diverse social identities to stay together. Governance is about, or politics is about striking a bargain. Governance is about striking the right balance. Are you with me? So Modi सरकार क्या कर रही है? It is trying to balance the competing demands of different castes. For instance, trying to ensure the well-being of the working class and also the businesses. Big business also and MSMEs also. Are you with me? हिंदू का भी भला करेगी और मुसलमान का भी भला करेगी. सिखों का भी ख्याल रखेगी. पारसियों तक का ख्याल रखेगी. तक का इन द सेंस दे आर वेरी फ्यू इन नंबर. ठीक है, नो अदर रीजन. So diverse social groups are making demands on the political system. They are trying to secure for themselves whatever benefits and the government is trying to strike a balance. The political system articulates the concerns, the aspirations of these diverse social groups. Clear? तो ये है the theory of pluralism. Now, this theory is also known as, pluralism theory, friends, is also known as elite pluralism. Elite pluralism. If you get a question on elite pluralism, do not get confused. You do not have to write the elite theory. You have to write the theory of pluralism. What does it mean, or why is it called elite pluralism? Are there elites in Western liberal democracies, or in liberal democracies, say us, or in the West? Do they have political elites? Yes or no? The answer is yes, they do. Hey, elites. But then, do they share the similar social background? No. Elite theory जो थी वो critical थी of elites. Pluralism theory sees the chosen representatives as, or the elites, the political elites as honest representatives of their respective sections of the society. तो वो कोई कोहेसिव क्लब नहीं है जो सिर्फ अपने इंटरेस्ट को सिक्योर कर रहे हैं. वो जनता के ऑनेस्ट प्रतिनिधि हैं. दलितों को चाहिए एक दलित नेता जो उनकी आवाज उठाएगा पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम में. मुसलमानों को चाहिए, हिंदुओं को चाहिए, गरीब को चाहिए, अमीरों को चाहिए, मिडिल क्लास को चाहिए. आर यू विद मी? So elites do rule, but they come from diverse social backgrounds. Are you with me? So you have a plurality of elites. In other words, friends, according to pluralism theory, is elite rule incompatible with democracy? Is elite rule incompatible with democracy according to this theory, pluralism theory? The answer is no, it is not. You can have both. People rule through their representatives. So there is no contradiction there. दलितों के पास आज के दिन पावर है जिसके बेसिस पे वो अपना नेता चुनते हैं जो दलितों के बिहाफ पे सिस्टम में घुसे हैं और उनके लिए बेनिफिट्स चाह रहे हैं. इसीलिए इसी तरह जाटों का भी नेता है, यादवों का भी नेता है जो अपने अपने रिस्पेक्टिव सोशल ग्रुप्स के लिए संघर्ष कर रहे हैं. सो डेमोक्रेसी एंड एलीट रूल, यानी पीपल रूलिंग एंड फ्यू रूलिंग, आर नॉट इनकम्पैटिबल विद ईच अदर. बोथ कैन गो हैंड इन हैंड एंड दे डू. People rule through their elites. That is what happens in a democracy, no? India has a democracy. In other words, people participate in governance. How do we do it? Do we all take participation in daily decision making of governance? No. We elect people who on our behalf then fight it out. Are you with me? So, elite rule and people's rule or democracy are not incompatible. Okay, so basically this theory tends to defend and legitimize Western liberal democratic political system. ठीक? With that, we are done with various theories of politics and power. We take a break, after which we move ahead. Also friends, I am assigning you a small but important duty. In the next lecture, before we start with the day's agenda, ensure that I discuss the previous assignments which we have not. It has been pending for long, right? The PYQs, at least some of them. Some of them I'll try to send model answers, or the rest we will take up in class, right? Because it's been pending for a while and I forget every day, like today. Okay? So don't let me move ahead without discussing the PYQs. Just remind me. ठीक? धन्यवाद भैया. चलिए. Now moving on to discussing what is arguably the most popular type of political system in our times, which is what? Democracy. Huh? Democracy is the most popular political system today. Of course, you have to be very sure about it. It is democracy. Which else? You know? Democracy, friends, today is by far the most popular form of government across the globe. Now, when you say that democracy, what do you mean by democracy to begin with? Sorry? The word democracy literally means rule of the people. Demos plus crazy. Crazy suffix denotes rule of. Demos refers to the people. So literally the word democracy means rule of the people. But tell me more. ठीक है, that very, should I say घिसा पिटा, but very apt definition of democracy is, it is government of the people, by the people and for the people. According to Abraham Lincoln. According to Samuel Huntington, लिखिए, according to Samuel Huntington, democracy is a political system in which, I repeat, democracy is a political system in which the most powerful collective decision makers, are selected through fair, honest, and periodic elections. Through fair, honest, and periodic elections, comma, in which the candidates freely compete for votes. And in which virtually all of the adult population virtually all of the adult population is eligible to vote. ठीक है? That is Huntington's definition of democracy. Or as Abraham Lincoln says, cliched, but you should have it. It is government of the people, by the people and for the people. ठीक? Which political system do we have in India? It is a democracy. So who is the most powerful? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most powerful of them all? Is it the Prime Minister? Or the other leading politicians? Definitely not you. Who? Who holds real power in a democracy? It is the people. Not even those who are at the helm of the political system. So democracy, friends, at the end of the day, vests power with the people. So till now in our understanding of democracy, we've mentioned a couple of things. That regular, fair elections take place and people are the ultimate holders of power. Right? But is that a complete understanding of democracy? Or can you give me a more fuller understanding of what constitutes, what makes a democracy? Bolo, what all does a democracy entail, brother? Have? ठीक है. Yes. So those in power may lose power, very importantly. Unlike say a monarchy. Yes. Rule of law. Very importantly, freedom of speech and expression. Very importantly, certain rights. Which rights are integral to a democratic polity? Fundamental rights. Interestingly, in our constitutional scheme, the right to vote is not a fundamental right. हाँ, और बताइए किसकी? जनता की ना? Of the ruled, of the rulers or the government. हाँ. So it involves a government which is held accountable to the people. बिटिया. Free and fair elections. Separation. लिख लीजिए, बिल्कुल. All of these are elements of a democratic political system. कि a democracy is characterized by क्या? Universal adult franchise, regular, free and fair elections, free press, and independent body to oversee the conduct of elections. Election commissions जैसी. multiplicity of political parties. People's participation. The ideals of liberty. And equality. Specifically, freedom such as the freedom of speech and expression. The freedom to express dissent. Can you, ordinary citizen, criticize Modi ji? Yes, you can. And you must. The right to association. To form associations. A vibrant civil society. Rule of law. Limited government. Very importantly, limited government. Matlab government does not have, unending or kind of, its powers are limited. Government can't do anything or everything. Its powers are circumscribed by the constitution. Right? So it is what we call limited government or constitutional government. Citizenship rights लिख दिया. ठीक है? और न जाने क्या क्या. Etc. ठीक. Now friends, democracy can be of two types. Wonderful. Direct and indirect. Direct democracy is what? When the people directly participate in taking decisions which affect their collective lives. ठीक है? When people directly participate in taking of the political decisions. So some of the tools of direct democracy are stuff like plebiscite. कश्मीर में कहते हैं प्लेबिसाइट करा दो कि कश्मीरीज को किसके साथ जाना है, इंडिया के या पाकिस्तान के, या इंडिपेंडेंट होना है. दैट वुड बी अ टूल ऑफ direct democracy. या referendum, for example, on the question of Britain exiting the European Union. The Brits conducted a referendum. Right? So these are some examples of tools of direct democracy, where the people directly participate in taking collective decisions affecting their lives. The other is indirect democracy, in which the people, indirectly take decisions. How? Through their representatives. So people choose or elect their representatives who on behalf of the people would then take the collective decisions. Indirect democracy is also known as representative democracy. Simply, when people participate indirectly, not directly. ठीक? which of the two, friends, is a, should I say, truer democracy? If democracy means government of the people, by the people and for the people, which of the two, direct or indirect, is closer to that, this thing? Direct democracy. And we have which one? America, England, Japan, Pakistan. तो सब पागल है. Why? साफ बात है, it is due to the reasons of sheer practicality. Modern societies are very large scale societies, so their population run in millions, tens of lakhs of people are there, and it is not practically feasible for this larger population to directly participate in decision making. It will become very chaotic. So in large scale societies, indirect democracy or representative democracy is the practically feasible way. Right? That is why you find that most countries, almost all, today are indirect, whichever are democracies are indirect democracies. ठीक? I will also like you to appreciate briefly the evolution of the democratic political system. Please appreciate democracy as we understand it today. It has been around for a while now, for more than 2 millennia in fact. But it was not the same as we see it today. In other words, democracy has greatly changed over time. So the roots of a democratic political system can be traced back to much before the French Revolution, beta. Ancient Greece and ancient India. In ancient Greece, there were, and this is the BC era, some city-states which were proto-democratic, let us call them that. Or, incipient democracies. Likewise, in India, of the 16 Mahajanpads, some were proto-democratic. समझ रहे आप? एथेंस को माना जाता है सीट ऑफ वेस्टर्न डेमोक्रेसीज. हमारे यहां कौन से महाजनपद थे जो थोड़े प्रोटो डेमोक्रेटिक टाइप के थे? वज्जी इट इज देन. ठीक है, आई डोंट नो द नेम्स, बट पॉइंट इज दैट मोर देन 2000 years back, द earliest forms of democracy, though very limited kinds, were visible in ancient Greece and ancient India. So the king was not all powerful. The king was not an autocrat. He was answerable to a sabha or an body of persons. प्रोटो मतलब इंसिपिएंट डेमोक्रेसी या आधी अधूरी शुरुआत की डेमोक्रेसी. Then the 13th century was an impactful year in the evolution of democracy. It was in this century that the Magna Carta was signed by the British monarch. Magna Carta. Magna Carta. Magna Carta was a document which basically limited the powers of the British monarch. And the king was forced to sign. The monarch was forced to sign this document. And then this was in about 1215, I think. And then 1265, the first parliament, British Parliament, was established. ठीक? 1265, the British Parliament was established. 1215, the 15, the Magna Carta was signed. Then another landmark in the evolution of democracy was the which period? 18th century. क्या हुआ था 18th century में? The French and the American revolutions. So the French Revolution gave the democratic ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. The American Constitution, we've talked about this earlier, I suspect, mentioned the 3 unalienable rights of every man: life, liberty and pursuit of happiness. The right to life, liberty and pursuit of happiness. The French and the American revolutions were a landmark in the evolution of democracy. Right? The French Revolution gave us the democratic ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity. The US, the entrenchment of democracy in the American soil greatly popularized democracy as a political system. But please appreciate, friends, democracy, what existed then, even after these revolutions, and what we have today is vastly, vastly different. In these very societies, the kind of democracy which exists in France or the US today is very different from what existed in that 18th century period. For one, democracy or franchise was extremely limited. Franchise was limited to less than 3% of the total population. There were numerous restrictions. For example, women were not allowed to vote. There were property qualifications. So those with a certain amount of property. Are you with me? There were educational qualifications. People of color got the right to vote much later. Then, in the 20th century, before that, in the 19th century, women, franchise was extended to women in about the 19th century. Then in mid-20th century, 2 important developments that led to democratization. Kya? One very important was decolonization. So colonialism effectively came to an end, and many of the newly freed countries or ex-colonies adopted the democratic political system, including India. So in the aftermath of the end of colonialism, many newly freed countries adopted democratic political system. Not all, of course, but many. ठीक? Another important development around this time was the civil rights movement in America, which we talked about, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks wali, which gave formal or legal equality to people of color in America. ठीक? another important, क्या नाम है, milestone which witnessed, the aftermath of which witnessed another wave of democratization was the collapse of the communist bloc. When communism collapsed, many of the erstwhile communist or socialist countries also democratized, including Russia, which was the leader. ठीक. So Soviet allies, the breakaway countries from Soviet, this thing. And since then, we have seen democratic revolutions, such as the Arab Spring, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, several places, or various colored revolutions, which have again spread democracy. बेसिकली जहां अमेरिका को तेल के कुएं दिखते हैं, वहां उसको लोगों के फ्रीडम्स और इक्वालिटी की याद आ जाती है, तो फिर वो वहां पहुंच जाता है अपने बॉम्बर जेट्स के साथ इक्वालिटी पहुंचाने. ठीक. Various political philosophers such as Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau provided the theoretical framework. Sorry? हाँ, वो भी. Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau gave you what? The social contract theory, which argued basically that government is not a divine creation. Yes or no? It is born out of a social contract. Matlab, it's a human entity. It's a social construct. Right? Montesquieu gave us what? Yes, the theory of separation of powers. So these are foundational to modern democratic political systems. Clearly, friends, the democratic political system has seen, or democracy as a political system has seen, increased adoption in the modern times. Matlab, more and more countries and societies have adopted democracy as their chosen political system. Yes or no? Today, clearly, democracy is by far the most popular form of government. Mind you, it is not the only one. You can have other forms of government. You can have autocracies, you can have theocracies, which was in fact the most popular form of government before the modern era. Globally, it was monarchy. It was monarchy. So there is nothing natural, please appreciate, for any political polity to be democratic. It is in fact the predominance of democracy that we see globally today is only a relatively recent affair. But today, it outshines all other kinds of political systems. According to, guess, who else? Pew Research. Now, Pew Research conducted this study of democracies based on data from Center for Systemic Peace. Pew Research analyze the spread of democracy based on data from the Center for Systemic Peace. उनका एक पॉलिटी 4 डेटा था, उसको एनालाइज करके प्यू रिसर्च कहती हैं that in 1977, out of 143 countries, %24 were democracies, while 62% were autocracies. ठीक, इतना कुछ याद नहीं करना है. सिंपली इन 1977 about a quarter of all nations were democratic. ठीक, while by 2017 out of 167 countries, %57 were democracies, 13%, only 13% were autocracies, and 28% were mixed. 28% were mixed. ठीक, 1977 मतलब ये तो आफ्टर डीकॉलोनाइजेशन के बाद का फिगर है. 1977 से 2017 कितने साल हो गए? 40-50 साल. How many? 50 years? 40? Come on guys, do your math here. 40. In 40 only years, the number of democratic countries in the world has doubled. Or the percentage of all countries which were democratic, which are democratic, has doubled from 24% to 57%. Right? Democracy clearly is the most popular form of government, friends. This is just a visual representation of the same thing. Don't dare try to draw it. The below figure is 1977 world map. The above one is 2017. Same data. Just a visual because it is more impactful. The dark yellow represents autocracies. The blue color represents democracies. So you can just see how blue color has greatly spread across the globe. Okay, so whole of Latin America between 77 to 2017, whole of Latin America has become blue or democratic. Parts of Africa have become blue or democratic. Mongolia has become blue or democratic. Rangoon, sorry, ये क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? म्यांमार, ठीक है? ये इंडोनेशिया साइड, ये सारे have become democratic. Yellow areas have greatly receded. The light yellow ones, light yellow indicates mixed, यानी partly democratic, partly autocratic. So, क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? US, Russia, okay, and large chunks of Africa, they have become less autocratic and partly democratic. So clearly, friends, democracy has greatly spread across the globe, right? Even those countries which are, North Korea का क्या नाम है? Democratic Republic of Korea. ठीक है? North Korea, which the West regards as, axis of evil kind of thing, वो भी, they also claim to be democratic. China, of all countries, criticizes. They say, हम है real democracy. ये सब फर्जी हैं. West are फर्जी democracies. Point is, friends, that democracy is by far the most popular form of government across the globe. Not just across, why, not just across the globe, look within. India has been, what I would say, it has been besotted with democracy. हमारा दिल आ चुका है democracy पे, as a people. Let me offer you alternatives. If I were to suggest to you that Modi जैसा महापुरुष 1000 लाख साल में एक बार आता है किसी सोसाइटी में, let us declare him constitutionally an autocrat. Shall we do it? क्या ये इलेक्शंस का तामझाम? मोदी चाहिए, पर कैसे चाहिए? इलेक्शंस के माध्यम से. I say we have had the Gandhis rule over us for several decades, and they did a fairly decent job. Let us declare Gandhis as the reigning monarchs of India. Yes or no? एक राजाशाही घोषित कर देते हैं with Gandhis at the helm. Shall we? No. Gandhis भी आएंगे 40 साल 50 साल, but democratically आएंगे. मैं कहता हूं our economic growth has lagged behind China, which we fancy ourselves comparing ourselves with. We have greatly lagged behind China because of this chaos of democracy. So let us have a single party government like in China. Yes or no? No. कम इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ सह लेंगे, पर चाहिए क्या? डेमोक्रेसी. My offer to you is, anyways, we are, let us declare India a Hindu Rashtra. We are, after all, a majority Hindu country. 80% of us are Hindu. So shall we may convert ourselves into a theocracy? Ram Mandir bhi banega, but within a democratic political framework. So point is, friends, the people of India as well would tolerate no other kind of political system other than democracy. Why? ऐसा है क्या democracy में? What makes democracy so popular a political system? Why is it the political system of choice for a billion plus nation, as also scores of countries across the globe? क्यों रहना चाहते हो? क्या दिया तुम्हें डेमोक्रेसी ने? बताओ. Dignity, wonderful. Who said that? Very nicely and succinctly put. और कुछ नहीं तो dignity दिया है इस political system ने. हाँ? Brother, we also have some power. Bitya, what is your power? 1 second. What is your power in this democratic polity? So it is our vote which decides who stays in power. Bitya, we have the power of the vote. Brother? Even I can become the prime minister. Why not? So my political aspirations, I may come from a non-political family background, I may be a non-entity today, I may be a goddamn chai wala for all I know, but still I can aspire to be the prime minister of a billion plus people. Only in a democracy. It could not have happened if we were a monarchy or an autocracy or a military dictatorship like in Burma. Bitya? Why do you say that? नहीं, यही तो नहीं करना था डेमोक्रेसी में. अच्छा, so democracy is a responsive and adaptive kind of a political system. बिल्कुल. Yes, brother? It gives us freedom. क्या करना है तुम्हें? Freedom का. It is a necessity. तो हमें चाहिए आजादी. सामंतवाद से आजादी, पूंजीवाद से, ब्राह्मणवाद से आजादी. So there's something inherently attractive about liberties. He's saying, now that's an interesting one, that there has never been a war between two democracies. Huh? Is that correct? Like, what is your assessment, guys? Have there been wars between democracies? Give us examples. India, Pakistan. So when Pakistan was in its democratic phase, huh? Or when it was governed by a military, this thing. Theoretically तो democracy है, बीच-बीच में भूल जाता है कि वो democracy है. Huh? Okay. But that's something worthy of, investigation by political sociology. NCRTs also state as much you're saying. Huh? There has never been a war between democracies. Good. Pakistan is half-baked kind of a democracy. और बताइए, brother? You can express individuality, creativity वगैरह in a democracy. Not in other forms of government. In North Korea, there will be clamps on the expression. Okay, Bitya? So do other forms of, and one could always, if I were to play the devil's advocate, I would say better governance, more, Are you with me? Like more decisive governance, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. More decisive governance you can have in non-democratic systems. China इसीलिए तो आगे निकल गया. पिछले we started off literally at the near about, at the same level. ठीक है. So democratic decision making may be much slower, but it is far more sustainable in the long run. Brother?
At the fundamental or individual level, I think for people, life is about fulfilling their human potential, which is enabled by the
democratic political system. Why do you say that? He's saying human potential can be realized in a democratic polity.
Because there are certain liberties and freedoms.
Absolutely. Because of the liberties which are integral to a democratic polity. Bitya? We can criticize the Modi government or whichever government, the power holders. No other non-democratic power holders will not tolerate dissent. Brother? It? Very good. It has a self-correcting mechanism. Can you elaborate on that or give some examples? We can stage protests and dharnas, pradarshan. On this freedom of criticism, I came across this quote. I don't know how true it is, but definitely telling and funny. It's attributed to Idi Amin. Okay, and he said apparently that there is freedom of speech and expression, but I can't ensure freedom after speech and expression. और बताइए. No exploitation. Isn't that a too tall a claim? Less exploitation. Bitya. Let us say it gives the poor the same rights as the rich. आप ऐसे पुट्रे कर रहे हो कि चलो अमीरों को भी कम मिलते हैं राइट्स. हम कह रहे नहीं, गरीबों को भी अमीरों जितने हक मिलते हैं, अधिकार मिलते हैं. बिटिया? It ensures accountability, very important, accountability of the government. Absolutely, yeah. It gives hope of a better future. कि अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, एक और टर्म दे दो, डबल इंजन सरकार दे दो, आधे स्टेट्स में दी है. ब्रदर? You have positive discrimination and affirmative action policies.
Nowadays, every democracy establishing a reputation of welfare
हाँ, इट इंश्योर्स वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल. बिल्कुल. तो लिख लो, कि why is democracy so popular, right? Or what explains the merits of democracy, the virtues of democracy. Democracy के गुणगान as follows. A democratic political system protects the rights of the people. Yes or no? Please appreciate, friends, only in a democratic polity the individual is empowered enough to literally take on the state. A democratic polity ensures that the rights of the citizens are protected from encroachment by the all-powerful, mighty state. मैं कौन हूं? मैं एक चुन्नू भरसा हूं in front of the might of the state. But can I hold on my own? I can. Can the state take away my rights? Can the state jail me without whatever grounds? It cannot. I will file a writ of habeas corpus. है ना? Get your polity. So point is, the individual is protected. His rights are respected in a democratic political framework. Democracy gives a real choice to the people, and regularly so, to choose those who will govern. It offers real choice to the people. आपको मोदी जी नहीं पसंद, कोई बात नहीं. You can go for a Rahul Gandhi, a Kejriwal, a Mulayam Singh. There are innumerable political formations, political ideologies, political policies. Yes or no? Policy measures to choose from. कमी है क्या इंडिया में नेताओं की, पार्टियों की, आइडियोलॉजीज की? नहीं, भतेर हैं. You are literally spoiled for choice. Yes or no? जितने मॉल में ब्रांड्स नहीं होंगे, उतने से अधिक आपको नेता के भिन्न भिन्न प्रकार मिल जाएंगे. टेक योर पिक. So democracy ensures that people's interests, people's concerns are articulated by the political leadership. अरे भैया, अगर नेता को मेरा वोट चाहिए तो उसको किसके हित की बात करनी होगी? मेरे हित की बात करनी होगी. यस और नो? Democracy ensures people-centric governance. Governments in a democracy cannot afford to be disconnected from the people. Political parties, especially those in power, must have their hand on the pulse of the people. Some even suggest that democracy is perhaps the only viable form of political system in modern, complex, multicultural societies. Democracy is the only viable या feasible form of political system or the only viable way to organize the political life of multicultural societies. और कोई हो नहीं सकता. अगर हम थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट बनना चाहें तो सवाल उठेगा कौन सा रिलीजन? Why not Islam, who are also, Muslims are also a substantial chunk? Yes or no? India has the world's what, highest या second highest Muslim population. अगर हम मोदी जी को ऑटोक्रेट घोषित कर देंगे तो मोदी जी की कास्ट देखी जाएगी कि भैया, otherwise in a democratic polity people across caste affiliations can vote for Modi ji. Yes or no? So when you, and India and most modern societies today are multicultural. You have multiple races, multiple religious identities, numerous tribes. Yes or no? All sorts of diversities you have in these modern large-scale societies. So it is the only possibly viable way of organizing our political lives. Democracy, friends, alone, some content can ensure good governance. क्या होती है good governance? It has become a buzzword of sorts. Huh? You must have heard. क्या होती है good governance? Transparent, accountable. So democratically elected governments are regularly held accountable to the people. How? So it's once, that accountability, is it once in 5 years? No. It is regular, day to day. How? Through the parliament. The executive is answerable to the ministers, etc., are subjected to great scrutiny, questioning. Yes or no? In the popular house or in the other house. It ensures that the government is responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people. Decision making in your democracies, it may be somewhat slow, but then it involves necessarily debate, deliberations, consensus building. Are you with me? So it may be surer, but it may be slower, but it is surer. Democratic governments have far greater legitimacy. क्यों legitimacy खूब है? Because it is basically governance by people's consent. Who is ruling over me? I have consented to it. I have voted for him. Yes or no? Or most of us, if not all of us, most of us. Since those who govern, they come to power through the popular vote. It has a high degree of legitimacy. A democracy alone protects very zealously the high ideals of liberty and equality. See, freedom is greatly cherished in a democracy. The noble ideal of equality is foundational to modern democracies. Yes or no? All people are considered equal in the eyes of the law. Democracy is based on the principle of one man, one vote. मेरे वोट की ताकत और अंबानी के वोट की ताकत सेम है. ठीक? तो ये है डेमोक्रेसी. इसीलिए तो हमें मोदी जी से प्यार है. ठीक है, थैंक यू.